Alright, so we're back here in the second episode, and yeah, we have the partly finished machine here. And I think it's not much more to say than just get going. So I'm really excited to continue building this one. I hope you are as well. So with that said, we should just go ahead and start off with step number 8, I think it is. Let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so this step is fairly simple. We are going to put in both of the wires, both the white and the red ones, which mean both the temperature sensor and the heated cartridge. Now, they kind of flow in here automatically. I don't have to do very much. What you should notice is that the heater thingy should be equally on both sides here, so that metal should be on both sides. Now, what you need to use here is one of these here. It's so tiny, I'm not even sure I can show you. Okay, so you want to put it in on the right side, and then with your Allen key, you should be able to just tighten everything in a little bit. You just want to make sure that it's slightly tight. You don't want to over tighten this one here, just so it stays in place. And that's actually that for this step. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so for this step I'm actually missing one of the parts. So I've looked everywhere and it looks like I'm missing the part that will go on here later. So I'm gonna solve that with 2 zip ties instead. Alright, so for this step, one of the first things that we want to do is to attach the end stop. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so now it's time to take the extruder that we had before. The cables are going out this side. So the plan here is to take this plate and well, mount it on the extruder. Now, if you had the other part here, that would be easy using the M3x12 to screw it together with the nuts here, but I don't have that. Now, if we take these part, the hot end assembly with the external part, I think it's called, and you're supposed to get everything down here and get the wires somehow to go out on this side here. Then we take the long screw from one side, get that all the way to the other side. And then of course on the other side we'll just have to put the nut here. So we'll put in the M4 nut there as well. Slide that in the slots and tighten this up. There we go. Not too much, we will do some adjustments here in a second. Then we want to take the M3x8 and the fan duct, and this will actually go on this side, so the air coming from this fan will push it in and push it towards the nozzle. So I think these are just screwed in without any nuts. You want to tighten them, but not too much, you destroy the plastics. You want to be able to screw these on and off a few times in the future, in case you need to do some maintenance or replace the parts and so on. So screw in these. That's awesome. Let's move on. Now this step is a little bit more tricky, so we're going to use the 2 screws, one with the spring, so M3x12 with the spring. And it's actually going down like this. So the first screw is the long M3 screw, is using the small hole. Anyway, so this screw is supposed to be screwed in here, all the way down to the end stop so that it clicks. I'm gonna push down the whole plate here that can swivel. I'm going to push that on manually for now when I'm screwing this down. You can see the screw there now is getting closer. We'll hear a click soon. There's the click. So we're going to keep that there, and then we'll screw in the other screw here with the spring on. Now this is supposed to be a little bit lighter, but the idea is that I should be able to push down the nozzle and hear a clicking noise. So maybe we'll have to adjust the screw a little bit more. So the spring here acts as a swivel resistance. So when this goes up and down, the end stop should trigger and untrigger. So let's see, I think I need to tighten a little bit more, and I'm going to push down the nozzle, and it's still a little bit off. There we go. So now when I push down the nozzle, you can hear a sound there. So I think that's going to be good. That means that when the nozzle is triggering on the build plate, the end stop will trigger, which means that the printer will understand what's happening. So I'm going to leave that for that, and awesome. Alright, so for this step we'll be using the M3 screws and one of these small connectors. Apparently, well, since this cable here is for the end stop, it doesn't really matter with the polarity. So I'm just going to insert the connectors here in the right order. And there we go, they are connected. Also, we're going to work with the fans. So basically we're going to screw in the fans here. I assume close to this mesh here, since everything will go up together. So let's just screw in these and go from there. Of course, you have 3 on each side because you have the screw there and the screw here. Now it's good to mark this one. The one that is cooling on the radiator here is the radiator fan, I think they're calling it. So it can be great to remember just for later. So I'm just going to screw these in on both sides and we'll take it from there. Okay, so there the fans are, set in each direction here, and the wires all go back here to the cluster, so to say. We do get some extensions wires that we'll probably use later. Now, in a previous step, I think because of some data loss here, I think I missed out the assembly of the end stop. So the end stop is going in this direction, where you can see the connectors are here. So it's going down, you connect it with the two 2.5mm screws, and the wires go through here and up on this side. So sorry if I missed that step. Now this is a fun step. So we're taking a bunch of screws here. Firstly, we are going to put in nuts here in these brackets, one on each side. And then we are taking the M3x20 through these parallel manipulators and screwing them in here. So this will be done in pairs. You don't want to tighten these too much, so I'm going to just go ahead and start screwing them in, and they should connect with the nut inside and starting tensioning. That's awesome. So we don't want to tighten it too much. It should of course be in place. So then we take another one and do exactly the same step on the other side, and then we repeat all 3. So let's check in when we've done that. Alright, so we're actually getting somewhere. Now we want to use these ones here. So we are going to put in the nuts here. And it's really important, of course, that you use a pair. So, for example, this one will go in like this. Now the nuts do fall out. So the idea is that they will assemble like this. That is the plan. So you want to just screw in the M3x20s here. And the same thing applies here, not too much tension, but of course you have to tension them a little bit. I'm just going to flip this over so it's easier to screw in. And we should have to push down one of these nuts a little bit extra. There we go, now it's in the spot. So I'm going to tighten up all of these and we'll check in with you in a second. Okay, so that is it. The connectors are now in place and they are in pairs exactly as they should be. It's starting to feel like a Delta printer really, which is pretty cool. So these should be able to just rotate freely. I think it's time to move on and get there. But this is looking cool. Alright, so this step should be pretty funny. So we have 3 M5 nuts that we are pushing in here. And the thing is that we are then taking one of the M5 screws, one of the wheels, and we are going to screw them in from underneath. So in this direction. So we can put one more wheel here, one more wheel here, put in the M5 and screw everything in. So again, we don't have to tighten these super much, but we do want to tighten them a little bit. There we go. Next up, we are going to do something that I find a little bit weird. So we're gonna put one of the M3 nuts in here, in that hole, this hole. What we want to do next is that we take one of the M4 square nuts, which, yeah, sounds a little bit weird, but it's actually, I think it's a distance somehow, so it's going in here between. And then we are pushing in the M3 by 20 in here. Yes, I know it's super strange, but apparently this will help out with something. But yeah, you're supposed to be able to tighten it, I suppose. When this goes on the rail later on, this part here will bend out and you should be able to screw this in. So leave it, don't tighten it too much, just leave it out here. Now I'm going to repeat this for the other three and I'll check in with you in a second. And there we go, there we have all three complete. Now you want to make sure that all the wheels just can turn and that there's a little bit of room here with the flexible side. Excellent, so let's move on. Now the way these are made and the way we've already assembled here, you see we don't have any space to roll this over the top. So what we have to do is to untighten this a little bit and we should be able to clamp it on. So we take, try to take two of the wheels here down below first, you see around here, and then we just squeeze the other wheel around on the side. We should end up with something like that. So then that is on. Now you want to have the rounded parts below as well. You can see here how they are supposed to enter the clicking device, the end stop. You want to have the rounded side down. Alright, so in this step the goal is to attach these lovely parts to the rollers here. So we need to do that. We're using the M3 by 12 screws. The manual said actually M3 by 15, but we don't have any. There's none in the box, so I assume that these ones are correct. So let me just screw these in. We should probably align all three of them. So you see that we have, we will only use the big open slots, not the third one, so, sorry, not the fourth one. So we only have 3 screws per arm. You should see everything tightening up. Like so, and of course we have to do it on all the different sides. So I'm gonna continue with this while you guys can watch. And would you look at that, we have something that is starting to look like a Delta printer. So this is pretty cool. And now it's time with the belt to get that working correctly. So we're taking the belt, it's time to divide this into 3 lengths. So I am going to open this up. I'm trying to get an estimation on how big it actually is. So this is how I divide it now. I'll fold it just once again. But these are the lengths and it's now time to cut. Apparently there wasn't a step for this in the manual, so I am going to do it anyways. At least I can't find a step. So we didn't attach actually the top vertex, which is this part, and we need to do that before we can starting with the pullers, because they go on these sides. So this needs to be assembled. Now what I'm going to do is to take just put it more or less on top. Now remember that the nuts slots here should be on the top. So I'm just gonna roughly align it, because what we need to do as well is to take the M3 screws, no sorry, M4, take them in here from the side and take one of the square nuts and just pre-tighten that a few turns, just like we did in the way back in the beginning. We need these so that we can actually tighten them on the rods later. So you just want to get those on all 3 corners and then we can continue. Okay, so now when we've done that, we can start to align everything. Basically trying to push the beams down on each side. We're probably going to need to do some violence here. When it's all level, you can just tighten down the screws. And then we can start with the belts. Okay, so now we can start with the belts. So we'll take one belt. We will have to loop it. Oh, again, the belt, the teeth should be on the inside. we need to loop it around the motor. So we're going to do that. And then it shall go here on the inside, also on the inside here, all the way up, going around the, what's it called, the belt thingy on the top vertex. So when that is done, we can have one of the belt go through there. Then of course you have the locking mechanism. I do recommend using like a clamp, because then we can clamp the one cable that we are not tensioning, so you don't have to try to tension both of them. Right then, it is tricky, but it looks like it's possible. Now we have one free to work with. So we should loop this down like so, and back again. Of course we're going to have some tension, which is difficult, but we'll tighten everything up with the other rod. So there you can see, that's the movement that we're doing with one, and then we want to do it with the other one as well. Now this is what I consider being the tricky part, trying to tension this wire here while we are... that didn't make it super tight, but maybe it's possible. No, it should be tighter. Now if we leave a little bit of gap on here, so we move the vertex down a little bit too far down, we should be able to push it up later and tension the belts. So pushing it up and tighten the screw should give us some tightening for the belts. So we'll lower the whole bar, the whole top vertex, and we'll fix that later. Now before we cut away any of these excessive, just make sure that everything is running, that there are no bends on the belt. So everything is on the same side. You could actually, if you want to, you can move them a little bit just to see that it looks good. Double check that the belt is going over the motors and also on the bearing here on top. Now don't cut away everything, just leave a little bit of room. We might want to use it later. Here we go, I'm cutting away this much. Cool, that sounds good. We are now ready for the next step. Now this here is a pretty big step. We're actually using almost 2 steps, so we're making the whole bolt extruder, or more or less the whole one. So the first thing we want to do is to put on the set screw, and we should do that so we get the adjustment screw on the flat surface, the flat middle part of the stepper motor. So you want to keep this at the top, so over there. Then we'll need to screw it in, positioning and adjusting with the set screw, getting everything exactly where it should be. So there we go. Next up we are mounting this extruded parts or plastic molded parts, and we are using the M3s on these 3 locations. We're just taking these holes and leaving this one open. I'm just going to screw these in. And when that is done, we are taking this part, using the, we take the bearing to here. Yep, there we go. And we are snapping it all together, like so. And then we're taking one of the M3 screws, the big one, just pushing that through everything. It doesn't have to be tightened in. This would actually go into the motor later on. So on this side, later on. I'm just going to screw that in. Now the other screw that we want to go is, again, an M3x20. And we're just supposed to use a washer here, and then an M3 nut. I didn't find any M3 washer, so I had to take one on my own. Just fixing that together, so the whole part goes together. Then we are taking everything here together, and we are screwing down this screw that goes into the motor here on the top corner. Like so, and of course that shouldn't be too hard, because this should be able to just move slightly as well. So this will adjust the pressure. It will sit like this and adjust pressure. Speaking of that, the next step is to take in one of the M3 nuts, push it here, so it's going here into that slot. Right down that. Then we want to go ahead with a M3x20. Now this one is supposed to go through the wing nut like this, but it shouldn't go all the way to the top. Let me explain in a second. So, and then you want to have another of the washers that wasn't included, like so. And then these are supposed to go through this here into the nut down below. Now you want to tighten just the top screw so that it attaches with the nut, so that the M3 here goes into the nut. But then you actually want to do all of the rest. Now you want to do any of the adjustments with the M3, with the wing nut here. So in this case, we want to make some space for the filaments, and we're just going to untighten this. And then we'll go ahead and tighten that when we need to. With that, it's then time to attach this part here. So this is for the bowden tube, that's what it's called. I'm just going to push it in there, not too hard. And then we had these, the M4 slots. So the idea here is that we'll actually lay down the whole machine and attach the motor at the middle. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so this will be the front opening of the machine. So what we're actually doing is take on this here, the top one. So this one here will have the filament go like so. So the idea now is to attach the M4 bolts, nuts and bolts. So we want to use some sort of tweezer just to squeeze those in the frame here, like so. And then we'll roughly pull down one of the screws, M4 screws, also on the other side. And then we'll attach the whole motor on these. And this should be sitting somewhere in the middle of the machine. At least that is what they are recommending. So somewhere along the middle of these axle. Now, just if you're doing this, just make sure that you're not doing it on the side where the motors are going. So for example, the motors here are rolling on this side and the other side, not where we're mounting our assembly, because that wouldn't be very good. So that is around the middle. That is looking mighty nice. And I think that with this step, we are ready for the electronics, more or less. Yes, you guessed it. That is all for today for this episode. It was really fun build. I know that the video might not be so entertaining, but it is, I think, really helpful for anyone building this one. Again, if you want to pick it up and build along with this guide, you can do so in the links down below. Now, I haven't tried it yet, so I can't officially recommend it yet, but that's gonna happen soon. So make sure that you check out the Patreons and the live stream donors. They are listed down here. Really nice group of folks. And I hope that you want to join as well. Help me out with a beer at the live stream or a coffee for the project. And become a patron at the link at the end. Anyways, next episode, which should be out in maybe a week, hopefully. We'll do the electronics. I think everything is ready with the mechanics. Things are looking good, so that's gonna be really fun. The electronics should be a pretty short episode as well, so at the end of that, the goal is to have a printer that moves and homes and everything like that, and maybe we can even start to get some filament through. After that, it's time to print with it, so make sure you subscribe so you can check out the next episode. And let me know if there's any questions, thoughts, anything, and you can always contact me at the info on the channel. And with that said, I think you guys should have a pretty awesome evening, day, or morning, or whatever it is. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.